In sports, competitors will always seek an edge. According to the National Library of Medicine, the earliest records of doping in sports come from the ancient Olympic Games, when athletes are reported to have taken figs to improve their performance. Do you think Lance Armstrong would have had his Tour de France title stripped if they caught him eating figs? The NLM also states that with the advent of modern pharmacology in the 19th century, many athletes began to experiment with cocktails of drugs to improve strength and overcome fatigue. We've heard countless stories of athletes using performance-enhancing drugs and getting caught. But what's the equivalent in esports, where success isn't about physical strength, but mental acuity and reflexes? When this teenager is a better player than this behemoth, taking typical steroids to get bigger muscles or to run faster isn't going to benefit you. In video games, cheating often involves injecting cheats into the game and using them either blatantly or covertly. But in a game that requires full focus, fast reaction times, and sharp communication, the PED of choice is often Adderall.
Topic of any kind of performance-enhancing drugs in esports, and particularly in Counter-Strike, is one that's actually always been there lurking in the background. I wouldn't say it's pervasive, because it's more like I say, it lurks in the background, and then every year, every couple of years, it kind of like sprouts up, people discuss it, they speculate, do players do it? Every now and then a player comes out and says like, oh, I've done it, or someone else did it on my team, and then it goes away again for a while and people forget about it, and it's not a consideration thinking about the sport or the competitive end of the scene.
During the ESL-1 Katowice Major in March of 2015, Cloud9 was one of two North American representatives, alongside Counter Logic Gaming. Cloud9 placed third in their group after losing the second place decider match to Team Solo Mid. Cloud9 then released both Corey Semphis Frazine and Shazib Shazam Khan only a month and a half later. Semphis then joined Nihilum and coached CLG Red, CLG's female roster. In July, CLG Red competed in the Women's Cup at ESWC 2015. After winning the event, Semphis was interviewed by Mohan Launder's Govindasamy, where he admitted something truly shocking.
I don't even care. We were all on Adderall. Like, I don't even give a like. It was pretty obvious. Like, if you listen to the comms.
Come.
Nah,
Nice,
fucking go.
boys.
Let's fucking go. Yo, I'm
Yeah,
a molly
do it.
for. Yo, when this
A lot of
smoke
teams
on molly
re-
tree. Are you guys ready?
Okay.
They just smoked banana.
Don't do anything.
Shut-
Wait.
I'm gonna go and beat
Wait.
when the smoke's gone.
When the
Shoot
smoke's
smoke
on,
in the
yeah.
arch.
When
They're
the
gonna
smoke's
scream
on.
through it.
Do it, Corey.
They just
Whenever you
resmoked.
can.
They just I can't.
I'm gonna smoke porch.
Smoke right mid, smoke porch.
I'm walking up
Yep,
balls.
yep.
Pit.
I got it.
Got
Pit
it.
still.
Poke.
Porch, Corey.
I'm
Porch, Corey.
graveyard.
Porch,
Okay,
Corey.
I'm graveyard.
Everyone does Adderall at ESEA land, right?
Yeah.
Take it good.
This revelation sent shockwaves to the esports community, raising crucial questions about the integrity of esports and highlighting the need for stricter regulations.
This is where the story comes up. He played in Cloud9. Now, when he was asked about Cloud9, it was clear from some of the early stuff that he was a bit upset about the fact that when they'd cut him, like they hadn't really done it in a friendly manner, despite their strong personal bonds and relationships they'd had for so many years. And so I think partly as a result of that, later on, he then kind of dropped dime that within Cloud9, famously, one of the real turning points where the fans turned against Cloud9 and turned against some of the players was when they'd heard those comms on the POV VODs from the tournament, and they'd heard that the communication was actually quite poor from Cloud9. People didn't know what they were doing sometimes, or they didn't understand a strat, or people would forget a strat and need it to be repeated to them, or have something explained to them in the middle of a round, whereas you were listening to some of the European comms, and some of them were quite simple, quite concise. Everyone understood what they were doing within a tactic. So obviously people were like complaining like, oh, these NA teams don't practice, and listen, they have terrible communication and teamwork, and some of these players have been playing for years, and they should cut this guy and cut that guy. So as a way of kind of justifying that, or giving just an explanation as to why it was so frenzied and so kind of off kilter, Semphis said, actually, we were all on Adderall.
At the time, Adderall wasn't explicitly banned by the Electronic Sports League. However, 2 weeks later, ESL Vice President Michael Blakars announced that they were preparing stricter anti-doping measures, including drug tests. Working alongside the National Anti-Doping Agentur and the World Anti-Doping Agency, ESL rolled out a comprehensive list of prohibited substances and implemented a robust policy to manage any instances of players using these substances. Nowadays, at large LAN events, the tournament organizer typically tests the players after matches. However, the measures can vary for each organizer and each game. Along with that, not every event is in person, especially at levels below the Tier 1 scene, where many competitions occur from home or in team boot camps. The Semphis Adderall controversy was a turning point in esports history. It pushed the community to address the challenges of doping, paving the way for a more transparent and fair competitive environment.